Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome in. Brand new episode of Snaps, and holy shit. That game, dude, did not go as all how I thought it was going to go. Not necessarily the game as a whole, but I don't know about you, Aaron. When you do a post-game show, right? You like you want to get your thoughts in order before the show begins, right? And so you're kind of writing your notes as the game's going on. I had already written the Michigan obituary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I had already written, and we were talking about, I'm like, what a process-oriented win for Alabama, because talent-wise, they're two pretty equivalent teams, but Alabama didn't shoot themselves, yada, 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 yada. And just when it seems like everything is going against Michigan, then in that third quarter, everything else, they fucking find a way from that 4th and 2 on. Think about it. 3 minutes left to get the ball. 4th and 2. From that play on, it was all Michigan. It was like the game turned on a heel. Absolutely insane. What a win for Michigan. What a win for Harbaugh. Just amazing. If you're a Michigan fan, enjoy this, savor this. It's been a long time coming, and it's well earned. This is just a massive fucking moment.
It was huge, man. And did you go back to the beginning of the game? It looked like it was going to be too big of a moment for Michigan, a team that has been there back-to-back seasons into the playoffs, yet has not found a way into the national championship. All the pressure seemingly somewhat on them. A major favorite to win this entire season. Like they've been talking about, we talked about on the show, like Michigan's the best team in the country. Michigan's the best team in the country. This is the year 3, Jim Harbaugh. Like they got all these NFL draft guys. They got, they finally have figured it out this season. This is the year they're going to break through to get to the national championship. And it seemed like those first 2 possessions, it was going to be too big for them. JJ with a horrific interception gets called back because of the defender was out of bounds. Then the muff pump turned to an easy touchdown for Alabama. And you're just like, man, like you cannot be making those mistakes early in the game and not think that Nick Saban is not just going to run right through you. And then from there, the rest of the half, like you said, T, Michigan looked like the better football team. Like I tweeted at the end of the half, like Michigan was the better football team. But don't sleep on Alabama because it's going to be a 4-quarter game anytime you play the Crimson Tide. Alabama came back. Third quarter was theirs. 4th quarter was theirs. And so obviously that last possession second to last possession for Michigan, and JJ drove down the field for the touchdown. So it was a tale of 2 halves. Michigan dominant there the first half, Alabama dominant in the second half, and Michigan found a way to win in overtime.
Well,
2 great runs.
I didn't think that you could lose a phase because what was the big the elephant in the room in the discussion for this game was the Nick Saban factor, right? Where like he's 9-1 in these games, or 10-1, he's unbeatable in these games. And so I did not believe that you could have as many self-inflicted wounds as Michigan had, or lose a phase of the game as badly as Michigan lost special teams and still find a way to win. I mean, Michigan, you said the fumbled punt. They had the botched XP. They had the missed field goal. They had the second muff punt, which almost lost the game on the spot. Whereas Alabama had 2 50-yard field goals. They had the heads-up play where a freshman punt returner, a true freshman, dives on the ball after it hits a teammate's heel. They won the field position battle with punting in the third quarter. So it just felt like It just felt like Michigan, yes, you may be as or even more talented starter than Alabama, but ultimately you're not ready for the moment. Nick Saban thrives in the moment. And then when it mattered most, though, right, situationally, right, I don't give a fuck about J.J. McCarthy's overall stats. I don't care about Michigan's overall stats. When they had to go 75 and their life's on the line and they're staring down 4th and 2, and then everything changed from that moment on. Blake Corum making the play, the Roman Wilson catch after the tip ball, the offensive line, and look, Michigan won in the trenches, dude.
Yeah,
which
they're a more physical team.
After the Georgia game, after the Georgia game, a lot of people were, crowning Alabama, and especially a lot of our fans here on Snaps, because we tend to have a bit of a Southern bias. Everybody's like, "Oh, Michigan's overrated. The Big Ten defense is overrated. These Big Ten lines are overrated. Alabama's going to kick their ass line." No, it's like we said, if it was just team on team, Michigan was the favorite. It was just the Nick Saban factor here. And one thing that was pointed out to me, which rang very true today, and I kept going back to, was the vast amount, the vast majority of public betting was on Alabama because they were getting points. And yet the line never moved. Vegas stayed pat. Vegas was going to lose their dick off if Alabama had won this game and yet that line stayed pat, and that lets you know. First off, the public always has a weird way of getting things wrong when they all go one direction. But secondly, it lets you know that this game was not just some sort of mismatch like so many people tried to tell you it was.
No, it was first of all, it was a phenomenal game. Like, for all the people that were complaining for the past month that FSU maybe should have been there, or who should have had that number 4 spot, this turned out to be one of the best playoff games that we've seen. So, like, let's maybe give the committee a small clap here, because I know none of us really truly like the committee, but they did give us a really good football game.
The committee doesn't need shit. Shut up.
They gave us a great football game, so you can shut up. They gave us a great football game. This was a terrific Rose Bowl overtime game.
You don't know what that FSU game would have been. I saw
I don't
Iowa
know. I don't know.
I'm
not saying
I'm
not saying
this is a pointless conversation. You're right. My bad.
Pointless conversation. I'm not trying to go down this rabbit. I'm just saying it was a great football game. We don't see a lot of these games in the playoffs, especially we don't see a lot of 1 versus 4s turn out to be an overtime game in the granddaddy of them all. Like, that was a special game to watch. I wish I was there.
It was. You're right.
Watching the entire thing.
Two very well coached teams. Two very well, it's interesting. Two very complete teams without I was going to say they're
complete. There's some glaring weaknesses, but two very good defensive teams.
I guess okay. So I think what I'm getting at with complete is two teams that are winning as teams. Like, there aren't like a lot of like very big superstars out there that are just overwhelming. And every team's going to have their stars, right? Yeah. But there's not a Bryce Young. There's not a Joe Burrow. There's not like a singular guy who is just overwhelming. These are two teams who are winning by, with all 22, with all 11 guys in the field.
Well, I would classify Jalen Milroe as a superstar, because if it wasn't for Jalen, get the fuck out of here. If it wasn't for him, that football team would have been 8-4 this year. Would have been 7-5. Jalen made that offense go middle of the season on. He made that offense go. The big plays that had to happen tonight for Alabama to even be in it was because of Jalen. Flip it over to JJ, and you said, JJ was somewhat maybe pedestrian tonight. I thought JJ had a great game. I thought he was really efficient. You take away some of the drops, too, from some of the Michigan receivers. I thought he used his legs well. I thought he was accurate for the majority of the game. Obviously, he took care of the football, besides the oopsie that he was, fortunate for him, wasn't an interception to start the game. I mean, 17-27, 220, 221, 3 touchdowns. And what did we talk about the entire week for this football game? Alabama's DBs, and can J.J. McCarthy in this offense throw the football against Alabama? Because Georgia struggled, and Georgia had, in our opinions, a better passing quarterback and better weapons on the outside. Yet JJ had the better stat line than Carson did. Like, JJ had a really good game, and I thought the entire game plan for Michigan was tremendous. You saw in the first half the shifts, the motions, the different formations, the different personnel groups. Like, I thought they did a great job of setting themselves up to have a ton of success throughout the ball game. So kudos to that offensive staff. Kudos to JJ McCarthy. I thought that may have been one of the better games I've seen him play against elite competition, because we usually don't see him get to go against elite competition. And he handled his business tonight. That's a great Alabama. I've said all that. Like, that to me, I think it's the best defense in America, and he played pretty damn well.
I think we got to put some respect on the Michigan defense here, dude.
Oh yeah,
because a lot of people were just chalking up Alabama for 30 points. You know what I'm saying? It felt like all the conversation. No.
Not us. Maybe not us. Not us.
No, we called it a defensive battle, but everybody said that, like, Michigan would not be able to keep pace with the explosivity of Alabama, and that the kind of the next line in that logic was that Alabama would probably score around like 33 or something like that, and Michigan wouldn't be able to get up. In the end of the game, Alabama 288 total yards, 116 through the air, 172, 4.4 yards per play, 3 of 13 on third down. Sanders still and the boys showed up in a big way, dude. And then again, situational football, Michigan making the plays at the end of the game to win the game. The huge tackle on the third down to force the punt, to give the ball back to JJ. The TFL on that was a 3rd and goal, right? That set up the 4th. Then you get the TFL on 3rd and goal to set up the 4th and goal where they tried to draw. Just throwing a bunch of different looks at Milroe, confusing him, avoiding, for the most part, any of that explosivity that people talked about so much. It was going to be the downfall of Michigan. Like, both sides of the ball, the staffs, the game plan, the execution by the players. Michigan deserves a ton of credit here. Which is surprising. I don't feel like they were getting it coming in, considering they were literally the number one seed and the number one team in the country pretty much the entire year. It just shows that's just the power of Nick Saban. If Nick Saban was not involved in this game, we would not be sounding nearly as surprised as we are right now. Now, you're just saying that
I do think Nick Saban obviously plays a massive role. That was one of our keys to the game, but I do think also it goes into the fact that the way Michigan looked towards the end of the season too. Like, let's not just say like this was a Michigan team that middle of the season I felt like was the best team in America. Then they fell off. They were banged up. JJ was banged up. We saw what everyone's seen, like what his stat line was through the cheating era of Michigan through the part of the season to what he was afterwards. That offense was not the same.
No, he
that was part of it too. That's 100% part of the conversation. It's 100% part of the conversation. Michigan has not looked like the number one team in the country the back half of the season, but the defense has. And that's why I was more of this. This is what the game was going to look like. It was going to be a defensive struggle. It was going to be a field position game. And that's what got Alabama back into it. The second half, Michigan was unable to get first downs.
Wild.
Yeah, they were unable to get first downs. They had a couple drops. JJ was behind on the one pass. And Alabama was essentially living at the 50-yard line. And you just knew at some point they were going to break through. They were going to get a touchdown. And Michigan had to find a way to just string together a drive. I mean, they went almost 2 quarters without scoring a point, Michigan.
I know. No, that's what I was writing the eulogy because we've seen out. What was the stat that they flashed on the screen night? Alabama's won 5 games losing in the second half this year. That's the Nick Saban factor, right? The adjustments, keeping your head on straight, like not getting overwhelmed, not being worried about losing, like continuing to fight in that second half. And so when they come out and they just completely win the third quarter and they're slowly eroding Michigan, whereas you said it was that like the third, if you ever want like a real masterclass example of how field position affects scoring and the final score, just watch the third quarter of this game where although points weren't being added, Alabama was slowly but surely pushing, advancing the field, and Michigan's going back, and then eventually they end up breaking through for a touchdown. So again, I thought it was going to be the difference. I had the whole thing written. And then out of nowhere, JJ McCarthy in the offense like, oh, wait, no, we're fucking good. We're fine. I don't know how. I don't know if we've just been saving these plays the entire game, but let's just go win. And they put together not only that 75-yard touchdown drive after the 4th and 2, but then, I mean, even in overtime, getting the ball first is supposed to be a disadvantage. And they just said, fuck it, we're going to run right over you. And they go and score.
Let me ask you this question real quick, because obviously, a lot of Georgia people hitting me up and a lot of my buddies hit me up throughout the game saying, like, why didn't we get this Alabama? And we're seeing in the chat right now, like, why didn't Georgia get this version of Alabama in the SEC championship game? I don't see that much of a difference. Alabama's offense for
Georgia wasn't as good as y'all thought they were all year, guys. That's the fucking point. Yeah, sorry, my bad.
This was, to me, this was not that much of a different of an Alabama football team.
No.
Alabama beat Georgia because they shut Georgia's team down. Alabama's defense was great tonight. I thought Alabama's defense had a really good night. Really good night.
It's like 350 total yards. Like that's not much.
It's not like Alabama's offense kicked Georgia's ass. I mean, yeah, they ran the football, and yeah, they maybe displaced some defensive linemen at times. But it wasn't like this incredible offensive performance. It was Alabama's defense that won the game in Atlanta. Alabama's defense is what kept them in the game when their offense couldn't figure out how the hell to block Michigan in the first half. To me, it wasn't that much of a difference in team. It's just Michigan somehow found a way to make some plays through the air more than Georgia was in Atlanta.
No, I think Michigan's better than Georgia. Like, how have we not like?
They're better in the trenches. They're better in the trenches.
Yeah, and guys, look, I mean, Georgia's incredible. Okay, and obviously the Georgia Empire is going nowhere, but I know there were injuries and whatnot, but it was a bit of a it was a bit fake this year. And when you ran into a really good team in Alabama, it showed. And Michigan is even better than that. I mean, we're talking about very small amounts of difference here. These are not massive difference. I'm not saying like Georgia's down here and these two teams are up here, but in those margins where these games are won and lost, Georgia just isn't quite on the level of.
Well, they're not the same they were for the past 2 years. And I don't want to do a Georgia conversation, so I'll
let's talk about this sense.
Michigan, for the past 2 years, especially 2 years ago versus Georgia, they were trying to build themselves like an SEC team. Like that was their goal. Jim Harbaugh came in there and he wanted to build a team that could be dominant defensively, that could run the football, that could take care of the football. Hell, look at the games this year. I mean, they play games about 3 hours. Most college football games are around 3 hours and 20 minutes to 3 hours and 30 minutes. Michigan was consistently, we're on pace for that tonight too, around three hours, because it's run the football, it's eat up the clock, it's get first downs, it's get in and get the hell out. And sometimes people are pissed off by the way they played because it wasn't super sexy, but that's how he wanted to build a championship team. How did Nick Saban build his dynasty? By playing the exact same game, dominating you, essentially breaking your will in the fourth quarter and kind of just running away with it. And now Michigan all of a sudden in their third go around in the past 3 years has finally got to the point where they are built like an SEC team and can win on both lines of scrimmage. They were great on the defensive line, and that offensive line, even without their best offensive lineman playing, was tremendous the entire game, and then really showed their ability to essentially assert their force there in overtime with 2 runs for a touchdown.
It's kind of wild. Earlier we were laughing because Michigan held up the 5s going into OT, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were joking about how like cheesy culture shit works when everybody buys in. It's fucking wild how Jim Harbaugh created the beat Ohio State period of practice. And now they're consistently beating Ohio State. And then he creates the beat UGA period of practice. And now by extension, like they beat UGA. So like he has done things. And normally a coach doesn't ever want to do that because they don't want to give that enemy that much focus, right? Because that's like bad coaching. You're supposed to be focused whatever you're playing here, blah, 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 blah. And so for Harbaugh to set such clear goals for how he wants his team to improve and then to pull it off. Because again, you're right, Aaron. We said so long Michigan will not be able to do this. Like they will not be able to keep pace with Georgia and Alabama. They try to play this style of football. You got to grow up, Harbaugh. You got to evolve. You got to start running the spread. You got to try to win with off. And he kind of said, "Fuck it, no, dude. I think I got this guy, JJ McCarthy." And again, you're so right to highlight him because down the stretch, last 4 games, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Sub 150 yards every game. Now he was not healthy and he's healthy now, but then tonight 3 touchdowns, no picks, and 220 through the air. One of his better games in his career, actually, statistically, if you look at a game log against this Alabama defense. That's exactly why they won. And you know, that's kind of how we said they were going to have to win and he had 3 for 25 on the ground as well. That's how they were going to have to win, was him being that impact player.
Yeah, he was great, man. He was great. Him healthy. I don't think he's I don't think he's a guy that's going to leave if they win a national championship. Like I still think he needs another year. But you should be pumped if you're a Michigan fan and knowing that you can now get that out of JJ McCarthy against that defense. Which once again, I'll say it again. Like I think it truly is the best, most complete defense in America, along with Michigan. That should make you feel really good, no matter what the outcome is tonight, against a Texas team that struggles against the pass and a Washington defense that is just kind of average. That Michigan's in a really good spot heading into that national championship game if they play similar to what they played tonight.
Well, and I mean, when you overcome Nick Saban and Alabama in the playoff, which nearly nobody has done, the amount of confidence that you gain from that cannot be overstated. Because remember the video when Alabama was selected? There was real probably wasn't the worst thing, right? Because last year they went overconfident against TCU and took the ass. This year they had to respect their opponent, but there was fear. They knew Baba Yaga, the boogeyman, Nick Wick was coming, and they fucking overcame him and beat him. And so now they're rolling as confident as possible into that national championship. We should also highlight Roman Wilson because to end the game with 4 for 73 and a touchdown against a secondary that's supposed to be untouchable, and you don't have any weapons. And I know a lot of it came on that last play, but still, that's also big time. I mean, that's what receivers do. They make big chunk plays. There was like no play more important than that one where the ball gets tipped. He has to readjust. He has to climb up and bring it down. And then Corum's vision on the touchdown run at the end was fantastic as well. So cannot say enough. If you're a Michigan fan, congratulations, dude. The special moments. This is the good shit, dude.
Yep, 100%. 100%. All right, baby. Let's get ready for that next game.
All right, so the next game started. Real quick, let's give some final thoughts. But first, a message from our friends at DraftKings. College football fans, the championship is here. The DraftKings Sportsbook is making sure you can throw down on the epic showdown for a shot at big bucks, as new customers can score $150 instantly at bonus bets for betting just $5 on the championship game. Okay, so if you've been putting it off, act now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the promo code T-Bob, T-B-O-B. You bet $5 on the championship game. Win or lose, you get $150 instantly in bonus bets. What a win with your friends at DraftKings, because it's more fun when you're in the action. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, promo code TBOB. The crown is yours. The last thing I would say is clearly, I want to be clear about this because I don't know how this conversation sounded. It's all very like quick and snappy, and I feel like, I don't know, it's shorter than what I'm used to. I want to be Michigan won this game. Alabama did not lose it. Michigan was the better team.
Yep.
They were better coached, and they overcame more errors than did Alabama. Like, Alabama played a cleaner game, and yet Michigan still won, and that is very impressive to me.
Yeah, that to me, that goes to your point real quick, too, before we log off, is the fact that they did have more mistakes yet found a way to win the football game is truly a sign that they were the better football team in this situation, which – very few times do teams line up against Nick Saban Alabama, but that's what we've said about Nick Saban Alabama this year. Like, this is not Nick's best team, and still congratulations to Alabama for even getting here with that football team.
Yes, no. So that is also true, right? Like, again, I know Alabama's supremely talented, but this was a more flawed Alabama team than we're used to.
Yep.
And Nick still coached ahead, but that's why you had to take advantage if you were Harbaugh and the boys, and they did. Look, guys, like and subscribe. The goal is 12-5 by the Natty. We're so close. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. It's your first time here. Welcome. We love it. Snaps, hang out. We're here every day. It's super fun. We'll be reacting again here in a little bit to Texas, Washington. So we got to go watch that game right now. And fucking Michigan, dude, getting it done. And the SEC was kind of booty this year. That's true. Also, Garrett Nussmeier is going to win the Heisman next year. So fuck y'all. Go Tigers. Fuck Alabama. Fuck Georgia. Fuck Michigan. Fuck you all. I'm just kidding. I love y'all. We will see y'all. We'll see y'all in a little bit after this game. Holla, holla. Lady y'all.